Hi everyone, this tutorial is going to show you how to join your Anne's puff stitch granny squares together using a continuous tight join. This is the exact same method as in the Hug burst blanket pattern, so if you're familiar with it, you already know how to do this part. There were just a couple things that I wanted to make sure were super clear, so felt that another tutorial couldn't hurt. So I'm going to be using my 5mm or size H hook that the pattern calls for with my worsted weight yarn that I have here. Now up until this point we've been using sock yarn held double. When you hold it double it roughly equates to a worsted weight yarn, so now we've switched and we're just going to be using straight up worsted weight, okay, and we're going to use it to join all of our squares to create our pillow panel. So this worsted that I have is called We Crochet or Knit Picks Swish Bear in worsted weight yarn. It's a superwash merino wool, and it's undyed and has this really lovely natural creamy color that I absolutely love. I use it a lot actually. So let's get started. What we're going to do is we're going to take all of our squares that we've made, so our panel is going to be 5 by 5, so 25 squares, and we're going to line them up according to either the pattern if you're following that exact same color combination, or however you want to rearrange them. That's entirely up to you. And what we're going to do is lay them all out, and we're going to join our panel from the top right hand corner working towards our left. Okay, and then we'll come back along the bottom and then we'll start with the next row. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to stack up your granny squares starting from the right hand side and working your way left. So I'm going to take this one and put it on top. Okay, if these were the next ones in my panel, I would go like this and this. Okay, so I'm only going to be joining 4 together because otherwise the tutorial would be, I don't know, 3 hours long. So I'm going to go, I want this one first. I'm going to put it over here like that. That's my first row, set it aside. And then my second row is this one like that. Okay. I'm going to put this on top. All right, so every time I grab a square, it's going to be the next square in my sequence. So I don't have to worry about looking at the chart or anything. It's all set up. It's all stacked. They're exactly the way I want them arranged. Okay, and I usually sort mine out in like some sort of bin. If I have multiples or if I'm joining a blanket or something, then I use a bin to sort them all out. It just keeps it really organized and you don't have to keep referring back to the charts and stuff. Okay, so I'll set those aside and grab my first one off the pile here. So again, this is the first square, top right corner. This is not the color combination that would be in the pattern. These are just random scrappy ones that I worked up for the tutorial. I'm going to insert my hook into the top corner, okay? Place my yarn over the hook, and I'm going to pull through, yarn over both of those, and pull through, okay? Drop that tail, and you're going to chain 1. That's going to count as your first double crochet, okay? Now we're going to work a corner. So we're just going to yarn over, create a double crochet, and now I'm going to chain 2 and do 2 more double crochets. So this is how this pattern differs a little bit from the Hug burst blanket or the Hug burst pillow, if you're familiar with those. If not, it doesn't matter at all. But normally I would put 3 double crochets in the corners. But with this square here, it worked better with 2. So I figured that was probably important and that I should show you in a tutorial. Okay, so we're going to continue crocheting along the top of this square here. Okay, we're just going to put a double crochet into the top of each stitch. We're not going to work into the spaces, okay, because we want to create a nice solid looking panel. So we're going to start by pulling our stitches back in the corner here and working into this space that always gets forgotten in this first stitch. Okay, and just work your double crochets all along the top. Now we've come to our first little knot where you finished off your round in your granny square. So we're going to go on this side of the knot, okay, this right side of the knot, and insert our hook. You're going to have to wiggle it in, okay? It's probably pretty tight if you're anything like me. Oh, you're going to yarn over before you do that so you can actually make a double crochet. There we go. Okay, and then on the other side of the knot, there's a stitch as well, okay? And usually there's a fairly decent hole. You can't, there it is. Can you see that? The navy blue yarn isn't great. So put your hook into there, and that's your 2 double crochets on either side of that slip knot, okay? Now we've come to our corner, so we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Okay, don't forget this stitch in here. And then just work your way into the top of each stitch along down the side of the square. Okay, and once we get to our next corner, that's when the fun begins. If I'm going too fast at all at any point, you can pause the video and get caught up. Okay, I'm at my corner, so I just put in 1, 2. So I just put in the first half of that corner, and now I'm going to stop. So as I was saying, if I'm at all going too fast for you at any point, you can stop and pause the video and play it again, or there's an option up in the corner. It should be 3 little dots or however it shows up on your computer, and you can actually change the pace of the video. So you can actually slow it down if that's something you prefer. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's step back. So here we have the first square in our panel. We're going to join our next one right here. So we're going to chain 2, attach it to this corner, and we're going to work our way back up while crocheting into here and slip stitching into there. Okay, so we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone here, and then we're going to work across the top and down the side and keep adding. We keep snaking through all the way along until we're done the 5 squares for our panel, and then we'll whip along and finish the bottom, and it'll bring us back to the start, and we can do our next row. Okay, now that all seems really confusing if you've never done it before, but trust me, it's all good. Oh, so we're going to chain 1. So normally I chain 2, chain 1, okay? That was another difference in this one because I wanted the pillow panel to be really, really tight and kind of plush and thick. It's a little bit different than my other pillow patterns. Usually they're very open and stretched out, but this one I wanted it to be a really, really solid, beautiful looking pillow panel. So I only chain 1, okay? And that gives us a nice tight seam. Yarn over. Now we're going to do our standing stitch so that we can add in our second square or our next square in the pattern. So we've yarned over. We want to keep our tail, our working tail, behind the square, okay? We're going to insert from front to back, okay? Pick up that tail behind your square, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so that's your standing stitch. That is now attached. Cool, right? I know. Okay, we're going to do another double crochet to finish that half of the, oh no, we're not. Getting ahead of myself here. Now, we're going to pinch our little teeny tiny chain 1. Can you pinch that in there? And then we're going to slip stitch. So we're going to go in to this stitch right here. Okay? So we're going to insert our hook from front to back, yarn over, and pull through. Okay, so you're just slip stitching that together. Now you're going to do your double crochet to finish off that corner. Okay, again, front to back, slip stitch into the top of the next stitch over here, yarn over, and then continue on this side. Okay, slip stitch, double crochet, and you just do that all the way up the side. And this creates that really beautiful, that I'm completely obsessed with lately, braided effect. with your join. So slip stitch, double crochet, slip stitch, double crochet. Okay, pull back and look, that's that wonderful braided effect that I was talking about. Isn't it pretty? Okay, so we just continue that all the way up the side here. And it's a little finicky when you first start because the two squares aren't really heavy enough to hold each other down, so they flop around a lot. But once you get a few more joined, you'll find that it lays nice and flat for you and you can really get a rhythm going. It's not as finicky. Okay. So all the way up the top. So I've run out of stitches over here, so I'm going to start my corner, right? Doing 1, slip stitch over here, 2. Okay, so I've done my 2 stitches in this corner. Now, if you know me, then you know that I never go into that last stitch. I always just slip stitch into the corner. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go into my corner, slip stitch, okay, chain 1, and then finish this corner with your 2 double crochet. Okay, and then we're going to finish the top of this square just by doing double crochets in each stitch. So exactly like the other one. No surprises here. Okay, that's what we did. We joined our square. Look at that. So that's the front, the beautiful braided effect that it gives. And then on the back, super nice and clean. Really flat, really clean, gorgeous join. So let's just continue across the front here, doing our double crochets, nothing fancy. Okay, we've come to another knot, so I'm going to go into that space right before the knot. You have to wiggle your hook in, it's usually pretty tight, and then this hole, there it is, do you see that hole? Right there. Okay, and continue on. In your corner, put 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. And then you're going to work down the side of the square, okay, putting a double crochet into the top of each stitch. So no surprises there. The same thing that we did with our very first square. And we just continue this, okay? So up, across the top, down, attach a square. Up, across the top, down, attach a new square until you have all of your squares joined across the top row. Okay, so I'm at my corner, I'm going to do 2 double crochets, chain 1, okay? And you would join your next square with a standing stitch, just like we joined this one, okay? So you would yarn over, grab your next square, insert it, and keep going. You would join up the top, up the side here, go double crochets across the top, down your side, join your next one, okay? But because I'm only doing 4 squares, so that this tutorial isn't a million years long, we're going to say, oh, I'm just finished my 5th square here and I'm going to chain 2 and pretend like this is a regular corner. Now, so you've joined all 5 squares and you see that we have unfinished bottoms. Well, what the heck? This is when you all message me. You all stop here and then you take a picture and you send it to me and you say, Mal, am I doing this right? And I say, yes, absolutely. It looks amazing, because now you have to go along the bottom, and this is the fun part. Okay, so now you get to go along the bottom. So we're going to pretend that this last square here, we're going to finish the corner. We're going to go 2 double crochets and then into that stitch. And you are just going to work double crochets until you get to your corner. And then you put in 2 to finish the corner. You're going to slip stitch over here, 2, and along the bottom. That's all we're doing. So double crochets into the top of each stitch along the bottom of these squares here. So your squares are currently upside down, okay? Sometimes it's a little disorienting because you do end up going every which way. But if you ever get lost or confused, just kind of, take a step back, put it down, take a deep breath, and think about what you're doing, because once you have done, it's really obvious. Okay, it's just the first time where it can be a little confusing. So I've come to my first corner here, and when we worked this corner, we worked the first half of it, right? We put in 2 double crochets over here. You can see them. So now we must finish the corner, right? So if you're ever lost, just think, oh, what does it look like I need to do? Well, it looks like I need to finish this corner, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to put in 2 double crochets, okay? Now we have a finished corner. Well, now what? Well, now I have to join it over here somewhere. Remember that chain 1? That blasted chain 1? Yes, you're going to curse me. So normally I put in a chain 2, and it's a lot easier to find. With the chain 1, you kind of just have to jam your hook in and hope for the best. So we're going to chain 1. No, I'm not joking. So we're going to insert our hook in here, try and wiggle it through. Okay, it's this one right here. Use your nails if you have them. Oh, I'm not even on screen. It's not helpful. Okay, wiggle it in. You can kind of lift up and look around to make sure that you're not like in your other slip stitches. So that's my chain 1. I can see when I pull it apart. See, I've got the chain 1. It's tricky. And we're just going to slip stitch. That's it. All that for that. Slip stitch, chain 1. And then we look at this corner. We have only 2. So we must finish this corner, right? Because that's what makes sense. So let's put in 2 double crochet. Voila! See that? See how it comes together? It's like magic, the best kind of magic. So we're going to do that for every single one across the bottom until we get to the very first square. Okay, so we're just going to continue our double crochets into the top of each stitch. I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but this is my favorite part. Like, I love all parts. I love picking out the colors and arranging them. And I like making the motifs and designing new ones and playing with stitches. But joining, especially these continuous joins, it's what does it for me. Love it. Okay, so we've gone across the whole bottom. We've done all 5 squares, or 10 bajillion if you're doing a blanket, whatever, because you can use this method to do blankets as well. So we've come back to our very first square. We're going to work the first half of that corner, okay, and chain 1. Now let's flip it over to the way we started. Okay, now we're looking good. Okay, now we have to do our second row. So we're going to join our next square down here, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Okay, so we're going to keep this one undone, unfinished, because once we work all of our rows of squares together and go along the very bottom of that panel, then we just whiz right back up the side and finish all the sides of these squares. All right, does that make sense? If it doesn't, it will in a minute. So we're going to do a standing stitch just like we did all the other ones. So you yarn over, making sure that your working tail is behind you. Insert your hook from front to back into any corner, doesn't matter which corner. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, you're going to pinch that chain 1, and then it doesn't matter if you pull this out as, you know, as long as you keep it on your hook. Insert into the top of that first stitch there, yarn over, and then you can cinch it down. So if you really pulled it out far in order to get leverage on your hook, just cinch it down. Okay, finish your double crochet in that corner and slip stitch over here. And we're off, right? So you just double crochet along the top of this one while slip stitching into the bottom of the first square here. Oh, one's not wanting to come through on me. There we go. Do-do. Hope I don't run out of yarn. I'm actually using the scraps from the actual pillow. And I think, I don't remember how many grams was left. What, 25 grams or something like that? I don't remember. Okay, so we've come to our corner. We've got 2 crochets that we have to put into that corner. So you do your first one, slip stitch over here, do your second one. Okay. And you'll know if you've messed up because you won't have enough stitches. So there's one left over here, but we just do the corner thing, remember? So I'm going to slip stitch into this corner so that it's nice and tight beside it, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the diagonal corner over here. Okay, chain 1, yarn over, and now, well, now what? Well, let's pull back and have a look. So that's what we did. Okay, we started our row 2 by attaching it to the first square. Okay, we attached our corners here so they're nice and tight. Now we're going to come down the side, join our next square by working back up and across the top. Then down the side, join, back up, across the top. So you just snake your way through the blanket. So we've got a corner here with only 2 double crochets. Can't have that. Let's put in 2 more double crochet and finish it off. And then we just work our double crochets into the top of each stitch along the top. Or I guess this is along the side, technically, right? Important to get our lingo right here. Don't want to confuse you even more than you may already be confused. That would be awful. But not unlike me. Okay, so we're at our corner, 2 double crochets. And then chain 1. We're going to do that fancy stand-in stitch stuff. Okay, so we're going to yarn over, grab our next square off the pile, insert it into any corner, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to pinch that chain 1 if you can even get your fingers around it. I have teeny tiny fingers, so it makes it easier. And slip stitch into that top of the first stitch there. Finish your double crochet corner and slip stitch. Okay, and now we're just going back up the side. So no surprises, just what we have been doing all along here. Oh dear. Oh my, I'm tangled. Oh, there we go. Okay, let me just pull back so I can show you what's going on here. So see how that's coming together? Now, if you notice that this is buckling a little bit, don't worry. You don't have to like block it or anything like that. It will buckle just because the worsted is a really soft, squishy plush. And it doesn't totally match up with the weight of the classic sock yarn that was held double. That's okay because it's going to be stretched out when it's put on the pillow, or when the pillow is put in the panel, I guess. So it all works out in the end. Don't worry, you don't have to block it or anything like that, okay? I probably could have used DK weight yarn instead of the worsted, but I really did want a very solid, squishy, lovely panel. I mean, there isn't much difference between the worsted and the DK, but I also didn't want the stitches to be pulled. Like, I didn't want my panel to be like super, super stretched out and pulling the motifs apart. Yeah, I've done those. I've done those super stretched pillow panels, and I wanted a nice, really soft, squishy, solid looking one. So it's all intentional. Don't worry, it works out once you get your pillow in there. Okay, so we're coming to our first corner here. I did my first stitch. We just keep going along. Okay, I've got my 2 double crochets here. I'm going to slip stitch into the square beside me and then up into the diagonal one. Okay. Okay, cinch that down. You want nice tight corners, okay? Nobody likes a saggy corner. And then you're going to chain 1. Okay, so chained 1, now we have to finish this corner, okay? We're going to finish this corner while working the top of this one to the bottom of that one. So we're going to yarn over and do our double crochet here. And then we're going to go into the top of this stitch. So you see our corner here, we're going to go to the top of this one right here. Okay. And then finish the corner. So you have to have 2 double crochets in that corner. And then you just go along as we've been doing. Slip stitch to the top one, double crochet in your bottom one. Slip stitch, double crochet. No surprises, easy peasy. I think when we're done, I'm going to take it all apart, and I'm going to, sometimes I keep the swatches together and have like a whole bag full of them that I don't know what to do with, because what do you do with them? But I'm going to take these ones apart, and there's just enough, I think, left over from the pillow that I'm going to maybe use up some extra scraps from my scrap pile and maybe make myself a cowl. It's kind of late in the year to be wearing it around here. It's just starting to warm up. But it'll be a nice surprise for next fall, right? Okay, so we've made it to our corner. We're going to slip stitch into our corner over here. Chain 1. And we're going to go down the side. Finish up this corner with 2 double crochets. And I'll pull back and have a look. Okay, so that's what we did. Joined it across the bottom here, bottom of this one, top of this one. Technically it's supposed to be like that, right? So now we're going to go down the side. And for you, like this was my last one, but for you, you would have gotten to this corner, you would have slip stitched over here and then into the diagonal one and then gone down, right? Because you still have to add 3 more squares to finish off your row. We're just pretending that we're at the end right now. Slip knot, So we're going to go into this space right here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show you that up really close, just so we're super clear. Okay, so this is our knot right here. So I'm going to go into this space right here. Okay, you have to wiggle in. Okay, and then I'm going to go into this hole right there. It's kind of under the knot, I guess. So that's where I put my stitches. And then I go into this stitch right over here. Okay, and that will make sure that you have enough. If you don't get those right, you're not going to have enough stitches along the side of your square. So you'll have wonky edges. Okay, so at this point you would chain 1, join your next square, and continue on and finish up that row. But we're just going to pretend like I've gotten there already. I've done all of my 5, and now we're ready to go along the bottom. So you chain 2, and then we finish off this corner. Okay, and then we just put our double crochets in each stitch along until we get to our first corner here. So we're just finishing off the bottom of that row, all those unfinished bottoms. Okay, so I'm just working across the bottom. Okay, I've come to my first corner. We've got 2 crochet stitches over here, or 2 double crochets, I should say. Now we need 2 more to finish off that corner, right? And we're going to chain 1, okay? We're going to wiggle our hook into that space there. Use your nails, wiggle, wiggle, slip stitch to that chain 1 space, okay? Chain 1. And 2 double crochets to finish off that corner. And then you just go along the bottom. Okay, on our last corner here, you put in 2. Now we've joined up our whole pillow panel. We've done all 5 rows. Now we're at the very beginning of that last row, and we have to go back up the side, right? So we're going to do it just the same way that we did all of the ends of the rows. We're going to chain 2, work the rest of the double crochets into this corner, and go up along the side of the pillow panel. And then we'll be at the beginning and all ready to join our panel and stuff our pillow. So we're almost there here in the home stretch. So we're just putting double crochets into the top of every stitch. I have mine folded over. I always do that, and I'm like, oh no, they're gonna get confused. But I always like double over my work when I'm working on it for more purchase, I guess. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how people hold it like this. It's so difficult to me. I love watching other people crochet. Everybody crochets differently, like literally everyone. So we've come to a knot, one of those knots. We're going to go into this space. Remember, wiggle, wiggle. It's important to get it in there. Okay. Our first corner here, put in 2 double crochets, right? And then we're going to chain 1. And then we're going to insert our hook. pull up. See, you can see that you got your chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1. And we're going to finish this corner here with 2 double crochets and continue on, putting your double crochets into the top of each stitch. Okay, so I'm at the beginning, going to put in my last double crochet here. So we've made it all the way around our pillow. We've joined everything up. Now we just slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet, not into that chain 2. So we're going to go up here and slip stitch together. And you're done. You would tie off, so you would cut your yarn and then you would weave your tail in. I'm not going to do it because I'm now taking out all of this work I just did. So you would thread your needle and then you're going to go into this space here, into the back of these 2 right here, and then you're going to go down here. Okay, you're going to continue to work your needle through the back of that corner in this direction like that, and then you're going to thread this one into your needle and you'll weave your ends back and forth into this corner. Okay, I usually do it about 3 or 4 times together by splitting the ply here and over here, so you're not just pulling it back out on itself. Okay, so that's how you sew in your tail and make sure it's nice and secure. And then you cut your yarn. All right, so there you have it. It's technically supposed to be this way. There we go. All right, I hope that was helpful. Take care, guys.